Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, I am bringing you this story which started off as being concerning, then it became alarming. Now it is a full-blown crisis. It is a full-blown crisis. So I am talking about the experiences of Nigerians in South Africa. So I am talking about the experiences of Nigerians in South Africa, but the experiences of Nigerians in South Africa is not exclusive to Nigerians. It sweeps up a lot of Africans, but really the main target is Nigerians. So I am talking about xenophobia in South Africa. So now this has been going on for quite a long while now, I should say. So this has been going on for quite a long while now, but now it's now reaching a crescendo, and it's almost like a witch hunt now. It's a lynching, effectively. It is reminiscent of that Ku Klux Klan thing that they used to have in America a few decades ago, when they just go around lynching and hanging black people. But now we now have an African on African violence taking place on African soil. So we have an African on African violence taking place in African soil, and we are not talking about Arab-like Africans against black Nubian type Africans. We're talking about black Africans on black Africans. So it is particularly jarring and very upsetting to see this going on, especially given the relationship of Nigeria and South Africa, and the history of South Africa in relation to Nigeria, because during their struggles, Nigeria was at the forefront of the lead to rescue them from the clutches of apartheid. Well, we have to go there because this is really where the conversation starts. We have to go to the apartheid thing because this is really where the conversation starts. I recall then during those apartheid days when there were marches on the streets of Nigeria with Nigerian students actually challenging their own government as though it was the Nigerian government that was carrying out apartheid in South Africa. And then the Nigerian government explaining to the Nigerian population that, look, we are fighting hard in the international scene. We have boycotted them. We've put all of the things that we can put against them at every international seminar and every international gathering. We are putting this struggle at the forefront, and the Nigerians were importing black children from South Africa to give them an education in Nigeria, because then we had an education in Nigeria, not what we have now, but we had an educational system in Nigeria. So this was going on. A lot of money was invested. A lot of the funding for the ANC then that was led by Nelson Mandela, a lot of the funding was Nigerian money, because Nigeria actually pumped a lot of money into that struggle, because it was a struggle that Nigeria was not going to let go. So Nigeria was the lead, effectively, not Britain, not America, not Europe, not anywhere else, but Nigeria, but Africa, and Nigeria especially, was the lead in bringing down the apartheid regime in South Africa. Yes, I can say that because I went through that period, and I have memories of that period. I mean, even not far from my house, there was a hostel that they were housing. This is my house in Nigeria now, in Oregon, in Ikeja. Even not far from my house, there was a hostel that they were housing female South African students. They were brought over from South Africa to be educated within the Nigerian system. So it was a very cushy, very lush thing. So a lot of money was spent on these people. So then what gratitude do we then get in return for all this spend and all this struggle which we paid for, both in body and in funds, to rescue these people from the clutches of brutality? What do we then get? Well, this is what we get. So this is the headline that I bring you: 2 Nigerians stabbed to death in South Africa. And I'm sure this is not a story that is particularly news to you, because this seems to be like a daily thing. So the death toll of Nigerians killed in South Africa has continued to rise, with another 2 becoming the latest victim of xenophobia attack in that country. The latest victims were stabbed to death in Johannesburg and Cape Town on Friday and Saturday respectively. The Assistant Public Relations Officer, Nigerian Union in South Africa, ODEFA, confirmed the killings in a telephone interview with a correspondent of the news agency of Nigeria from Johannesburg on Monday. So he had that conversation with Nigerian media on Monday. The Nigerian community lost 2 citizens to gruesome murder over the weekend. This was what he said. Bonny Owuha, 48, from Imo State, was stabbed to death at 11:45 p.m. on April 6, 2019 in Johannesburg South. We gathered that his assailants followed him from 152 High Street, I'm not going to attempt the name of the town, and thereafter stabbed and killed him in front of his gate on his road. The killing was witnessed by Mr. Nwokocha, also known as Nwa Father, he said. Mr. Ikili said the killing had been reported and a case of murder opened at the police station in Johannesburg South. He said another Nigerian known as Gozian also lost his life in similar circumstances on Friday. Godwin was allegedly stabbed to death by 3 unknown colored South African men after an argument with the deceased. So when they describe somebody as unknown, colored rather, in South Africa, I think that's really like an Indian mix or something, because I'm not quite sure that's the term that they used for blacks. The incident took place at Belleville Stadium parking lot in Cape Town at about 1 p.m. on Friday, April 5, 2019. These latest killings add to 4 other Nigerians who were shot dead in March. 3 of the victims were murdered in Sunnyside, Pretoria, and 1 in Balfour Park, Johannesburg, he said. So the death toll is just mounting up rapidly. He goes on to add, NUSA was concerned that, I think that's the name of his organization, NUSA, was concerned over the incessant killings of Nigerians and worried that the perpetrators had not been brought to book. According to him, the arrest and prosecution of culprits by the South African police would put a stop to the daily killing of Nigerians. We call on the Nigerian government to impress on their South African counterpart that the killings have to be investigated and the culprits prosecuted, he appealed to the news agency of Nigeria. So there you have it. This is a story that keeps recurring and recurring. This is a story that just repeats and repeats and repeats. And it's a growing cause of concern that Nigerians on the legitimate business, even some on illegitimate business in South Africa, are being killed on a daily basis. Apparently, there's an envy there because Nigerians tend to thrive wherever they go. So the Nigerians are coming to their country and they're doing well, and this doesn't particularly sit well with the South African population. Now, I don't want to generalize or anything like that, but the South African population does have a reputation for being a bit lackadaisical in their manner. I don't want to use the words lazy or things like that, and Nigerians are hardworking and entrepreneurial. So even if the South Africans were a match, the Nigerians would have outdone them anyway. So, but if they were even in their own land sleeping, and the Nigerian man rather has come in there and seen where the profit is and then gone on to then make that profit, then it's fair games, it's fair dues. Look, if you want to attack, what about the people that colonized you? Although I hear that they have a special treatment for those ones as well. With the way these people are going, these South Africans, they would end up reversing their country to the dark ages, because the average South African, due to the apartheid regime, a lot of it, they have a very low educational base in that country, so they're not really robust educationally, and all of that educational, because they want an African feel to their country, so all of that professional sphere, a lot of the professional needs of that country is being met by other African countries who are going in there with their expertise. And we all know how educated the Nigerian population is, the Nigerian masses. So they just go in there, they take over their universities, they are their lecturers, they're their doctors, they're their accountants, they're their bankers, they're their everything, because Nigerians do tend to do that anywhere and everywhere in the world, from the United States all the way through to all over Europe to South Africa. Nigerians take over the professions. So now the South Africans cannot now bear this, and they're now even taking over over the shops as well, because you know Nigerians are very industrious, and Nigerians are instinctually traders, so they know how to trade and they know how to turn a profit on a product, and the South Africans don't have these skill sets. So if you don't have these skill sets, then let the people who have these skill sets use those skill sets, one, to make a profit, and two, to teach you how to use the skill sets. So rather than attacking the Nigerians and killing them, why don't you learn from them, and then having them learned from them, you then start something up, and then if you can compete enough, then you can drive them out of business, but definitely not the killing. And it seems as though the Nigerians don't really have the protection of the authorities in South Africa, so it's like an open goal. So these people just have free reign to just attack and kill Nigerians. Another 2 stabbed, and God please, let us not hear any more news of this, but it's almost something that you come to expect, that in the future you hear news of this again. And now this must stop. This must stop. Black on black violence is like being in an American ghetto or something. Well, you know, maybe South Africa is akin to that or something, I'm not quite sure, but this must stop. All this xenophobia must stop, and the authorities in South Africa must take a firm stance against this thing, because it has gone on long enough. Enough is enough of Nigerians being killed in South Africa, and this must now stop. So now, what says you? Nigerians in South Africa being targeted by these South Africans, the South African blacks as well, a lot of them, because anytime you see clips of this thing, it's usually black people in South Africa. So Nigerians now being targeted by South African, mainly blacks, but not predominantly blacks, because we've just had an incident or an instance rather of a colored person, but being targeted really by the South African citizens for reasons of envy, because these Nigerians have not actually done anything. They are trying to tag the Nigerian name with drug dealers and using that as an excuse to lynch them, and then they lynch them and then loot their shop and steal their money and then kill them. And this is going on long enough, but now this going on in South Africa must now come to an end. So now, what is your position? Because this is a conversation that we must have. So what is your position? Xenophobia in South Africa. This is a conversation of this video, so come, let's have a conversation about it and around it in the comment section. But before you come join me to have this very important conversation, click on the red subscribe button so it goes gray, the bell button as well, so you are notified as soon as I drop a video. Then come join me in the comment section. Let's have this very serious chat. So I'll leave you here, meet you in the comment section, but here I say peace.